I stood there in my white dress, bouquet trembling in my hands, staring at an empty altar. 300 guests, a $12,000 venue, and no groom. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part? I found out why he didn't show up. And girl, when I tell you what I discovered, you're gonna want to sit down for this one. My name is Destiny. Destiny Clarke. And I'm about to tell you how I went from the most humiliated woman in Houston to someone I never thought I could be. But first, let me take you back to that Saturday in June when my whole world collapsed. I woke up that morning in my childhood bedroom at my mama's house in 3rd Ward. The sun was streaming through the lace curtains she'd hung up when I was 7. I could smell her cooking breakfast downstairs. Cheese grits, turkey bacon, and her famous buttermilk biscuits. I remember lying there for a minute just soaking it all in. This was it. My wedding day. The day I'd been planning since Marcus proposed to me on that rooftop. Downtown 2 years ago. Destiny. Baby, you need to eat something before Shanice gets here to do your makeup. Mama called up the stairs. I smiled. My mama, Linda Clarke, had been my rock my entire life. Just the two of us since I was 4 years old when my daddy walked out and never came back. Left us with nothing but a stack of bills and a broken heart that Mama somehow glued back together. She worked double shifts as a nurse at Memorial Hermann for years, making sure I had everything I needed, made sure I could go to college, made sure I never felt the gap where a father should have been. Coming, Mama. I threw on my robe and headed downstairs. The kitchen was warm and full of love, just like it always was. Mama had her back to me, humming an old gospel song while she flipped bacon. Her gray-streaked hair was already in rollers, ready for the ceremony later. How you feeling, baby girl? She turned and gave me that smile, the one that always made everything okay. I'm nervous, I admitted, sitting at the table. Is that normal? Honey, if you wasn't nervous, I'd be worried. She set a plate in front of me. But you sure about this? About Marcus. I should have heard the concern in her voice. Should have paid attention to that little tremor of doubt. But I was 28, in love, and convinced I knew everything. Mama, yes. Marcus is good to me. He loves me. We've been together for 4 years. He's ready to settle down. Start a family. This is what we both want. She nodded slowly, but something flickered across her face. Just want you to be sure, baby. Marriage is serious business. I am sure. I took her hand. Mama, you raised me to be strong, to know my worth. Marcus sees that. He respects that. If only I'd known how wrong I was. The morning passed in a blur. Shanice arrived with her makeup kit, talking a mile a minute about her latest drama with her baby daddy. My 2 best friends from college, Tanya and Nicole, showed up with mimosas and way too much energy. The bridesmaids' dresses were perfect, a deep emerald green that popped against our skin. Everything was going according to plan. We got to the venue, this gorgeous old church in Midtown that I'd fallen in love with the first time I saw it. Around 2. The wedding was set for 4. I remember standing in the bridal suite, looking at myself in the mirror in that dress. It was everything I'd dreamed of. Lace sleeves, fitted bodice, a train that seemed to go on forever. I'd saved for 2 years to afford it. Girl, Marcus is gonna lose his mind when he sees you, Tanya said, adjusting my veil. You look like royalty, Nicole added. Straight up princess vibes. I felt like a princess. For those few hours, I felt like everything in my life had led to this moment. All those years watching Mama struggle, all the nights I worked 2 jobs to get through Texas Southern University, all the sacrifices, it was all worth it because I was about to marry the man I loved. 3:30 rolled around. The photographer was taking pictures. Guests were arriving. I could hear the string quartet warming up in the sanctuary. The energy was electric. This was really happening. 3:45. My wedding coordinator, Jessica, knocked on the door. 15 minutes, Destiny. How are we feeling? Ready? I called back, my heart racing with excitement. 4 o'clock. Time to line up. The bridesmaids headed out first, one by one, walking down that aisle. I stood, with Mama, who was going to walk me down since Daddy wasn't in the picture. She looked beautiful in her navy dress, tears already forming in her eyes. "I love you, baby," she whispered. "I love you too, Mama." The wedding march started. Those doors opened, and I took my first step. The sanctuary was packed. 300 people turned to look at me. The flowers were perfect, white roses, and hydrangeas everywhere. The candles were lit, casting this soft, romantic glow. It was like something out of a movie. But as I walked down that aisle, my eyes fixed on the altar, I started to notice something was wrong. The groomsmen were there, looking uncomfortable in their tuxes. Marcus's best man, Deshaun, was whispering something urgently into his phone. But the spot where Marcus should have been standing? Emptied. I kept walking, convinced he'd appear any second. Maybe he was just running late. Maybe there was traffic. Maybe he was in the bathroom having a nervous breakdown like grooms do in the movies. But with each step, that empty space at the altar got bigger, more obvious. People started murmuring. I could feel the energy in the room shift from excited to confused to pitying. I made it to the front, stood there, waited. The pastor, Reverend Johnson, looked at me with these sad eyes. "Destiny, honey. He's coming," I said firmly. "He's just late. Marcus is always running late. You know how he is." But I didn't believe my own words. Deep down, in that place where women always know the truth even when they don't want to, I knew something was terribly wrong. Deshaun walked over to me, his face twisted up in a way I'd never seen before. "Destiny, I think you should come with me for a second." "Where's Marcus?" My voice cracked. "Just come with me, please." I looked at Mama. She was already crying, her hand over her mouth. I looked at my bridesmaids. Tanya looked furious. Nicole looked shocked. Shanice was shaking her head like she couldn't believe what was happening. "No." I stood my ground. "Someone needs to tell me what's going on. Right now." Deshaun pulled out his phone. His hand was shaking. "Marcus asked me to. He asked me to show you this. After. But I think you need to see it now." He held up the phone.
It was a text message.
From Marcus. To Deshaun. "I can't do this. Tell Destiny I'm sorry. Tell her I'm with Simone. We're at the airport. We're leaving." I read it once.
Twice.
3 times. The words didn't make sense. None of it made sense. "Simone." I whispered. "Who's Simone?" Deshaun closed his eyes. "Destiny. Simone is she's your sister." And that's when my legs gave out. See, here's the thing nobody tells you about trauma. Your brain tries to protect you. It shuts down, goes numb.
I
heard people screaming, felt hands catching me before I hit the ground, but it was all distant, like I was underwater. My sister, my baby sister, the only other person in the world who understood what it was like to grow up without a father, who knew what it meant to have Mama sacrifice everything for us, who I'd loved, protected, and trusted my entire life. Simone was 19, 9 years younger than me. I'd helped raise her. When Mama was working those double shifts, I was the one making sure Simone did her homework, ate dinner, stayed out of trouble. I'd helped pay for her to go to community college. I'd been there for every birthday, every accomplishment, every heartbreak. And she'd been sleeping with my fiancé. They helped me to the bridal suite. I remember sitting on that couch in my wedding dress, staring at nothing. Mama was crying so hard, she could barely breathe. My friends were trying to figure out what to do with 300 guests and a reception hall full of food. But all I could think about was how stupid I'd been. Because now, looking back with clear eyes, I could see all the signs I'd ignored. Marcus's phone that was always face down. The late work meetings that happened more and more frequently. The way he'd pull away when I tried to kiss him. The distance that had grown between us over the past 6 months. And Simone. God, Simone. The way she'd ask about Marcus all the time. How she'd started dressing differently, wearing makeup, losing weight. How she'd been too busy to help with wedding planning. How she'd barely looked me in the eye for weeks. How long had this been going on? Months? A year? How many times had I talked to one of them about the other, completely oblivious to what was happening behind my back? My phone started buzzing. Text messages.
Dozens of them.
Some from friends checking in. Some from relatives who'd witnessed the whole thing. Some from people I barely knew, probably just wanting the gossip. But there was one message that made me want to throw my phone against the wall. From Marcus. I'm sorry, Destiny. I never meant for it to happen like this. I love Simone. I've loved her for a while now. You deserve better than someone who's in love with someone else. I hope you can forgive me someday. I left your apartment key with Deshawn. Take care of yourself. Take care of myself. This man had just left me at the altar, stolen my sister, and humiliated me in front of everyone I knew, and his parting words were, take care of yourself. I think that's when the numbness started to crack, and the rage began to seep in. Destiny, baby, we need to get you out of this dress, Mama said gently. Her voice was hoarse from crying.
No.
I stood up. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. I need to go talk to those people out there. Honey, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I looked at her. Mama, you taught me to face things head on. You taught me to be strong. I'm not gonna hide in here while everyone out there talks about me. I'm gonna hold my head up and I'm gonna walk back out there. And I did. I walked back into that sanctuary. All those faces turned to look at me. I could see pity,
shock,
embarrassment on my behalf. But I stood at that altar where my groom should have been standing, and I spoke. Thank you all for coming today. My voice echoed through the church. As you can see, there won't be a wedding. My fiancé decided that my sister was a better choice. So, there's a full reception hall next door with food and music that's already paid for. You're all welcome to stay and eat and celebrate. I don't know what. Life? The fact that sometimes you dodge bullets you didn't even know were coming? Whatever you want. Someone in the back started clapping. Then someone else. And then, to my complete shock, the entire church erupted in applause. Not pity applause. Real, supportive, we're with you applause. You're better off without him, baby, someone called out. That's right. His loss, another voice added. Tanya rushed up and hugged me. Girl, you're the strongest woman I know. But I didn't feel strong. Not even a little bit. I felt like I was play-acting strength while everything inside me was shattering into a million pieces. The reception hall was surreal. People actually stayed. They ate the food, drank the champagne that was supposed to be for toast to the bride and groom, and danced to the DJ I'd paid $400 for. Some folks came up to me with awkward condolences. Others avoided me entirely. A few of Marcus's relatives slipped out early, too embarrassed to stay. I sat at the head table alone, still in my wedding dress, watching this bizarre celebration of my public humiliation unfold. Around 8 o'clock, Deshawn approached me. He looked terrible, guilt written all over his face. Destiny, I swear I didn't know until 2 days ago. Marcus told me he was having doubts, but I thought he meant normal pre-wedding jitters. I never knew about Simone. If I'd known, I would have told you immediately. I would have beat he stopped himself. I'm so sorry. Did you know where they were going? I asked. He nodded. Miami. He took money from your joint account. Clean it out. Said he needed a fresh start. Of course he did. We'd been saving for a down payment on a house. $12,000. Money I'd scraped together from working overtime at the medical billing company, where I was a supervisor. My money. And he'd just taken it. Thank you for telling me, I said quietly. Destiny, if you need anything, I need everyone to leave me alone. The words came out harsher than I meant, but I couldn't take them back. I couldn't keep pretending to be okay. Please, I need everyone to go. Mama took me home that night. back to the house in Third Ward, back to my childhood bedroom.
I sat on the
Edge of my bed in that wedding dress for hours, unable to move, unable to cry, unable to process what had just happened.
How do you process betrayal like that?
Not just from the man you were about to marry, but from your own sister, your blood, the person who was supposed to have your back no matter what. Around midnight, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Simone. Destiny, I'm so sorry. I know you hate me right now, and you have every right to, but I need you to understand. Marcus and I fell in love. We didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I know the timing is awful, and I know I should have told you before the wedding. But I was scared. I didn't want to hurt you. Please don't be mad at
Marcus.
This was my fault. I pursued him. He tried to resist for so long, but we have something special. I hope one day you can be happy for us. We're family. We'll always be family. I love you, sis. I read that message 5 times. Each time, I got angrier. She was sorry about the timing. Not about sleeping with my fiancé. Not about betraying me. Not about destroying my life. Just the timing. And she wanted me to be happy for them. I threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall and shattered. Good. I didn't want to read any more messages. Didn't want to see any more apologies that weren't really apologies. I finally got out of that dress around 2 in the morning. Mama helped me unzip it, helped me step out of it.
We didn't say anything.
What was there to say? I crawled into bed in my childhood bedroom, in my childhood bed, and finally, the tears came. I cried for the wedding that didn't happen, for the marriage that would never be, for the sister I'd lost, for the trust that was broken, for the future I'd planned that had evaporated in an instant. But most of all, I cried because I didn't know how I was ever going to get past this. See, when you're publicly humiliated like that, when everyone you know witnesses your devastation, there's no hiding from it. There's no pretending it didn't happen. There's no moving to a new city where nobody knows. Your story. Everyone knew. Everyone had seen. Everyone would remember the day Destiny Clarke got left at the altar by her fiancé, who ran off with her little sister. That night, lying in the dark, I didn't know how I was going to face tomorrow. I didn't know how I was going to go back to work. I didn't know how I was going to explain to people what happened. I didn't know how I was going to survive this. And I definitely didn't know that this nightmare was just the beginning. Because the next morning, I woke up to discover that Marcus hadn't just taken my money and my sister.
He'd taken so much more than that.
I woke up the next morning to Mama shaking me gently. Sunlight was streaming through those same lace curtains, but everything felt different. Heavier. Like the air itself knew my life had fallen apart. Baby, you need to get up. Someone's at the door for you. I groaned and pulled the covers over my head. Tell them to go away. I'm not seeing anybody. Destiny, it's the police. That got me up. I threw on sweatpants and one of Mama's old nursing school hoodies and stumbled downstairs. Sure enough, 2 Houston PD officers were standing in our living room, looking uncomfortable. Miss Clarke, the older one, a black man with graying temples, asked gently. Yes. I'm Officer Williams. This is Officer Chen. We're here about a report filed yesterday evening. Do you know a Marcus James Thompson? My stomach dropped. He was my fiancé. What happened? Is he okay? Please don't let something have happened to him, I thought. As much as I hated him right now, I didn't want him
dead.
And Simone was with him. Mr. Thompson is fine, as far as we know. But we need to ask you some questions. Are you aware that your name was on a lease for an apartment at the Midtown complex on Brazos Street? Yes, that was our apartment. We lived there together. Officer Chen pulled out a notepad. When was the last time you were at that residence? Friday morning. The day before the wedding.
Why?
What's going on? The officers exchanged a look. Officer Williams cleared his throat. Miss Clarke, the landlord called us yesterday evening. Apparently, Mr. Thompson cleared out the entire apartment on Friday afternoon.
Took
everything. Furniture, electronics, personal belongings. Everything. The landlord is saying there's damage to the property and wants to know who's responsible for it. I sat down. My legs just gave out. He took everything? According to the landlord, yes. Including items that appear to have been yours. Clothes, personal effects.
Where?
Here to ask if you want to file a theft report. Mama's hand found mine. She was shaking. I don't understand. How could he move an entire apartment in one afternoon? The landlord says a moving truck was there for about 4 hours. Multiple people helping. Looks like it was planned.
Planned.
While I was getting my nails done for the wedding. While I was having my hair trial. While I was finalizing details with the caterer. Marcus had been systematically erasing our life together. Miss Clarke, there's more. Officer Williams looked even more uncomfortable. We pulled up the lease.
Your
name is the primary on it. Mr. Thompson was listed as an occupant, but you're financially responsible. The landlord is saying there's about $3,000 in damages and unpaid rent. They're planning to pursue legal action against you if it's not paid within 30 days. $3,000? I couldn't breathe. I don't have $3,000. He took everything from our account. I have maybe $400 to my name right now. Do you have documentation of the joint account? Bank statements showing the withdrawal. I nodded numbly. It's on my phone. My broken phone. We'll need you to come down to the station when you're ready. File a formal report. Bring whatever documentation you have. Bank records, texts, emails. Anything that proves your case. After they left, I just sat there on the couch. Mama sat next to me, her arm around my shoulders, but she didn't say anything. What could she say? Marcus hadn't just left me. He'd systematically destroyed my life. Took my money.
Took my sister.
Took every single thing we'd built together. And left me holding the bag for an apartment I could no longer afford and damages I didn't cause. Baby, we'll figure this out, Mama finally said. We always do. But her voice didn't sound convinced. And I knew why. Mama was barely making it herself. She'd been talking about retiring, but her retirement fund wasn't where it needed to be. She couldn't help me financially.
And I couldn't ask her to.
I spent that Sunday in a fog. I had to get a new phone, which cost $200 I couldn't spare. I had to call my bank and start the process of disputing the withdrawal from our joint account, but they told me it could take 60 to 90 days. I had to figure out where I was going to live, since I obviously couldn't afford that apartment anymore. And I had to face the reality that I had to go back to work tomorrow and face everyone who knew what happened. Monday morning came too fast. I put on my work clothes, a simple black blazer and slacks, and tried to make my face look normal. But my eyes were swollen from crying. My skin looked dull. I looked exactly like what I was, a woman who'd been destroyed. The medical billing company where I worked was in the Galleria area, about 30 minutes from Mama's house. I'd been there for 6 years, worked my way up from a regular billing specialist to a supervisor position. I was
good at my job.
Respected. Or at least I thought I was. The moment I walked into the office, I could feel it. Everyone staring, whispering. Some people looked away quickly when I caught their eyes. Others gave me those sad, pitying smiles. Destiny. My coworker, Janelle, rushed over. She was one of the few white girls in the office I actually liked. Oh my God, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. Are you okay? I'm fine, I lied. Just need to get back to work. Keep my mind busy. If you need anything. I'm good. Thanks. I made it to my desk and tried to focus. I had a stack of insurance claims to review, calls to make, emails to answer. Normal Monday stuff. But I couldn't concentrate. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped. Every time someone walked past my desk, I tensed up. Around 10, my supervisor, Patricia, called me into her office. Patricia was this older, white woman who'd always been tough but fair. I'd never had any problems with her. Destiny, sit down. Her voice was serious. I sat. My hands were already shaking. I heard about what happened Saturday. I'm very sorry for what you're going through. Thank you. But I'm okay. I'm ready to work. She folded her hands on her desk. Destiny, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Did you know that Marcus worked here? My blood went cold. What? Marcus Thompson. He was hired 3 months ago. Temporary position in IT support. I'm looking at his employee file right now, and you're listed as his emergency contact. You didn't know he was working here? I couldn't speak. Marcus had been working in the same building as me for 3 months, and I didn't know? How was that possible? Destiny. No, I whispered. I didn't know. He never told me. I never saw him here. He worked in the basement level, different schedule. But here's my concern, his file also lists a Simone Clarke as his secondary emergency contact. Same last name as you. That's your sister, correct? I nodded, feeling sick. Patricia pulled out another sheet of paper. Destiny, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but we've had complaints.
About you.
From other employees. Complaints? About what? About workplace drama. About you bringing personal issues into the office. About you creating a hostile work environment.
What? Who said that?
I haven't done anything. The complaints were filed Friday afternoon by Marcus, and they were detailed. She slid the papers across the desk. I read them with growing horror. Marcus had filed official HR complaints, accusing me of harassment, of creating drama, of using company resources for personal issues, of being unstable. He'd made up incidents that never happened. He'd twisted innocent conversations into evidence of my instability. And he'd filed them the day before our wedding, while he was planning to leave me at the altar. Patricia, none of this is true. I swear to you. I believe you, Destiny. I really do. But here's the problem. We have an HR investigation now.
And until it's
resolved, I can't have you working here. Company policy. The room started spinning. Are you firing me? I'm placing you on administrative leave. Unpaid. Until we can sort this out. Unpaid? Patricia, I can't. I need this job. I need the money. Please. She looked genuinely sorry. My hands are tied. HR has to investigate. It could take weeks. Maybe longer. This is what he wanted. The realization hit me like a truck.
He planned this.
All of it. He filed those complaints knowing I'd be suspended. He wanted to make sure I had no money, no job, nowhere to go. Destiny. Did Simone work here too? I demanded. Patricia hesitated. She was an intern in the same department as Marcus. She was let go last week for inappropriate workplace behavior. Of course. They'd been together at work. Probably in supply closets, empty offices, the parking garage. Everyone probably knew except me. I was the fool who had no idea her fiancé and her sister were carrying on right under her nose. I walked out of that building in a daze. I didn't even clean out my desk. I just left, got in my car, a 10-year-old Honda that was barely holding together, and sat there in the parking lot. No job, no money, no apartment, no fiancé, no sister, no future. What do you do when your entire life gets taken from you in 48 hours? How do you move forward when you can't even see a path? I drove around Houston for hours that day. Didn't go anywhere specific. Just drove. Ended up downtown near the rooftop where Marcus proposed. I remembered that night so clearly. The twinkling lights. The way he got down on one knee. The ring, a simple diamond that I'd loved because it was from him. The ring that I'd taken off Saturday night and thrown in the trash. Had that proposal been real? Had any of it been real? Or was I just a placeholder until he could get what he really wanted?
My phone rang.
A number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Is this Destiny Clarke? Yes. This is Rachel Morrison from First National Bank. I'm calling about your auto loan. Your 3 payments behind, and we need to discuss your options before we're forced to move forward with repossession. 3 payments? That couldn't be right. I'd set up automatic payments from our joint account. There must be a mistake. I have automatic payments set up. Ma'am, those payments have been bouncing for 3 months. We've sent multiple notices to your address. The apartment. The notices went to the apartment Marcus had cleared out. How much do I owe? With late fees, you're looking at $1,200 to get current. $1,200 I didn't have. I barely had $400 left after buying the new phone. I need time.
Please.
I need time to figure this out. You have until the end of the week. After that, we will repossess the vehicle. She hung up. I sat there in my car that I was apparently about to lose, and laughed. Actually laughed. Because what else was there to do? In 2 days, I'd lost my fiancé, my sister, my savings, my job, my apartment, and now I was about to lose my
car.
It was almost impressive how thoroughly my life had fallen apart. I drove back to Mama's house. She was in the kitchen making dinner, still in her scrubs from her shift. Baby, you're home early. How is work? I told her everything. About Marcus working there. About the complaints. About the suspension. About the car. And I watched my mama, my strong, unbreakable mama, crumple into a chair and start crying. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. Mama, it's not your fault. I should have seen it. Should have known something was wrong with that boy. Should have protected you better. How could you have known? I didn't even know. We sat there together in the kitchen, 2 broken women trying to figure out how to survive. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything. About how naive I'd
been.
About how I'd trusted people who didn't deserve it. About how I'd ignored red flags because I was so desperate to have the life I thought I deserved. Around 2 in the morning, I got up and opened my laptop, one of the few things Marcus hadn't taken because it was at Mama's house. I logged into Facebook, something I hadn't done in months. And there it was. Marcus's relationship status had been updated. In a relationship with Simone Clarke. There were pictures. Him and Simone at the airport. At the beach in Miami.
Smiling. Happy.
Living their best life on my money. And the comments. Oh God, the comments. So, happy for you too. Love always finds a way. You both deserve this happiness. They'd posted some sob story about how they'd fallen in love despite trying to fight it. How they'd struggled with their feelings because they didn't want to hurt me. How they'd finally decided to follow their hearts. They'd made themselves the heroes of their own love story.
And me?
I was the obstacle they'd overcome. The bitter ex who couldn't be happy for them. Have you ever been so angry that you felt physically sick? That's where I was. I wanted to comment. To expose. To tell everyone what they'd really done. But what was the point? People would believe what they wanted to believe. I closed the laptop. Deleted my Facebook app. I couldn't watch them live happily ever after while I was drowning. The rest of that week was a blur of trying to fix unfixable things. I called the bank about the auto loan, but they wouldn't budge. I called my apartment complex, but they said I was legally responsible for the damages. I called a lawyer about getting my money back, but they said it would cost more in legal fees than I'd recover. And it could take years. Every door I tried to open slammed in my face. Friday evening, I was sitting on the porch at Mama's house when a tow truck pulled up. They'd come for my car. I watched them hook it up and drive away with the last piece of independence I had left. Now I couldn't even get to job interviews. Couldn't even leave the house without relying on Mama or public transportation. I'd hit rock bottom. Or so I thought. That night, around 9, Mama came into my room. Her face was gray. She was clutching her chest. "Destiny," she gasped. "Something's wrong. My chest hurts. I can't breathe right." Terror like I'd never known shot through me. "Mama? Mama, sit down. I'm calling 911. The ambulance came. They took her to Memorial Hermann, the same hospital where she'd worked for over 20 years. I rode with her, holding her hand, watching the paramedics work. "You're gonna be okay, Mama. You're gonna be fine." But I didn't know that. I didn't know anything anymore. At the hospital, they rushed her back. A doctor came out about an hour later. Young Indian woman with kind
eyes.
Are you family? I'm her daughter. Is she okay? Your mother had a minor heart attack. We've stabilized her, but she's going to need to stay here for a few days. We need to run more tests, possibly look at putting in a stent. Does she have insurance? Yes, through her job. Good. But she's going to need to take time off work. At least a month, possibly more.
And she'll need someone
with her when she comes home. She can't be alone. A month. A month without Mama's income. A month where I'd need to take care of her when I could barely take care of myself. The doctor must have seen something in my face because she touched my arm gently. I know this is scary.
But
your mother is strong. She's going to get through this. You both are. I wished I could believe her. They let me see Mama around midnight. She was hooked up to machines, looking small and fragile in that hospital bed. This woman who'd raised me by herself, who'd never shown weakness, who'd been my rock, she looked scared. Hey, Mama, I whispered, taking her hand. Baby, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For what? This isn't your fault. I'm supposed to be taking care of you right now. You're going through so much, and now I'm... Stop. Don't you dare apologize. You've taken care of me my whole life. Now it's my turn. She squeezed my hand weakly. What are we gonna do, Destiny? The bills. We'll figure it out. We always do.
Right?
That's what you taught me. But sitting there in that hospital room, watching my mama sleep fitfully, hooked up to machines, I didn't know how we were going to figure anything out. In 1 week, I'd lost everything. My relationship, my sister,
my job,
my savings, my car,
my home. And now,
my mama's health was failing. I was 28 years old, and I had absolutely nothing. No safety net, no backup plan, no way forward. That night, sitting in that uncomfortable hospital chair, I hit a point where I just wanted to give up. Where I thought about how much easier it would be to just stop fighting, to just let life win. But then I looked at Mama, sleeping in that bed, and I thought about everything she'd survived.
She'd been
abandoned by my father with 2 small children. She'd worked herself to the bone to give us a better life.
She'd
never given up, even when things seemed impossible. And if she hadn't given up on me, I couldn't give up on her. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was going to figure out a way to survive this, to get us through this, to build something from the ashes of my destroyed life. I had to, because the alternative, giving up, letting Marcus and Simone win, letting this destroy me completely, that wasn't an option. So I sat there in that hospital room and I started making a plan. It wasn't much of a plan, but it was something. Step 1, get Mama healthy. Step 2, find a way to make money. Any money. Step 3, survive. That was it. That was all I could manage. 3 simple steps that felt impossible. But I was going to try. I had to try. Because sometimes, when you're at rock bottom, when you've lost everything, when there's no light at the end of the tunnel, sometimes the only thing you can do is start digging. And girl, I was about to dig my way out of hell itself. Mama stayed in the hospital for 5 days. 5 days of tests, monitoring, consultations. They put in a stent.
Said
she was lucky that if I hadn't gotten her there when I did, it could have been so much worse. Lucky. That word felt like a joke. When they finally released her, she came home with a bag full of medications we couldn't afford and a list of restrictions that basically meant she couldn't work, couldn't stress, needed to rest, eat right, take it easy. I looked at that hospital bill when it came. Even with insurance, we owed $4,200. Add that to the $3,000 for the apartment, and I was looking at over $7,000 in debt with no job and no way to pay it. You ever been so broke that you're afraid to check your bank account? That's where I was. I had maybe $150 left. That was it. That was all that stood between us and complete disaster. I needed money.
Fast.
And I needed it from somewhere that wasn't going to run a background check or ask too many questions. So I did what desperate people do. I took whatever work I could find. First job, cleaning houses. Found it on Craigslist. This white lady in River Oaks needed someone to deep clean her 6-bedroom mansion twice a week. She offered $15 an hour, cash. No contract, no benefits, no
Dignity.
but it was money. I took it. Have you ever cleaned toilets for someone who treats you like you're invisible?
Who leaves notes about spots.
You missed but never says thank you? Who has a house so big she doesn't use half the rooms while you're stressed about how you're gonna feed yourself and your mama? That was my life now. Me, with a college degree and 6 years of professional experience, scrubbing someone else's floors. But I couldn't think about that. Couldn't let myself feel the humiliation. Because every dollar I made meant Mama's medications got paid for. Meant we had food. Meant we kept the lights on. I found more work. DoorDash deliveries on a borrowed bike from our neighbor. Babysitting on weekends. Walking dogs. Anything and everything that paid cash. Some days I worked 16 hours. Would leave the house at 6 in the morning, not get home until midnight. Mama would be asleep in her chair, the TV playing softly, her medication bottles lined up on the table beside her. And every night, I'd count the cash I'd made. Separate it into envelopes.
Rent. Food.
Medications. Bills. Never enough to cover everything, but enough to keep us afloat one more day. 3 weeks into this new reality, I was babysitting for this couple in Montrose. Professional types, both. Lawyers. They had twin 3-year-old boys who were absolute terrors, but they paid $25 an hour.
So I dealt with it.
I was sitting at their kitchen island after the boys finally went to sleep, scrolling through Indeed on my phone, looking for real jobs. Something sustainable. Something with benefits. But every listing either required a car or would do a background check that would show my suspension from my last job. The wife, Amanda, came home early. Found me at her laptop. They'd said I could use it with my resume. Open. Looking for work? She asked, pouring herself a glass of wine. I almost lied. Almost said no. But something about the way she asked, like she genuinely cared, made me honest. Yeah, I'm trying to find something stable. I gestured around, all these side hustles, they're not sustainable. But I can't seem to catch a break. She sat down across from me. Can I ask what happened? You seem overqualified to be babysitting. So I told her. Not everything, but enough. About Marcus. About the job I'd lost. About Mama's heart attack. About trying to dig myself out of a hole that kept getting deeper. Amanda listened. Really listened. When I was done, she was quiet for a minute. Destiny, can I give you some advice? Woman to woman. Please. Stop looking for jobs. Start creating one. I must have looked confused because she laughed. I'm serious. You said you worked in medical billing, right? You know that world. You know how it works. Why not start your own medical billing service? Work from home. Be your own boss. Set your own hours. I don't have capital. I don't have equipment. I don't have clients. You have knowledge. You have experience. You have a computer and internet. That's all you need to start.
She
pulled out her phone. My sister runs a small physical therapy practice. She's always complaining about billing. Issues about how much she pays her billing company. Let me connect you too. You do good work for her, she'll refer you to other practices. That's how you build it. Amanda, I don't know if I can. Why not? What do you have to lose? Right now, you're working yourself into the ground for other people. Why not work that hard for yourself? I sat with that question for a long time after I left their house that night. What did I have to lose? Nothing. That was the answer. I had nothing left to lose. I'd already lost everything. So maybe it was time to try building something new. I spent the next week doing research. Late nights after my other jobs learning about business licenses, LLC, formations, tax IDs, figuring out how to set up invoicing systems, creating a website using a free template, Writing up service agreements. I called the company Clarke Solutions.
Simple.
Professional.
Mine.
Amanda made the introduction to her sister, Dr. Melissa Tran. I put together a proposal, offered her rates 30% lower than her current billing company, promised faster turnaround times and more personal service. She gave me a trial run. 1 month. If I did well, she'd hire me full-time as her billing service. I worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life. Stayed up until 3 in the morning processing claims. Followed up on every single rejection. Made phone calls to insurance companies. Fought for every dollar her practice was owed. At the end of that month, Dr. Tran's collections were up 40%. She hired me on the spot, and she referred me to 3 other small practices she knew. Suddenly I had clients. Real, paying clients. Not enough to quit my other jobs yet, but it was a start.
It was something.
4 months after the wedding that never happened, I was managing billing for 6 small medical practices. Working from Mama's dining room table, my laptop surrounded by papers and coffee cups. Making more money than I'd made at my old job. Not rich.
Not even comfortable yet.
But surviving. Actually surviving. Mama was getting stronger too. Following her diet, taking her medications, going to cardiac rehab twice a
week.
The color was coming back to her face. The spark was coming back to her eyes. "I'm proud of you, baby," she told me one morning over breakfast. "Look at you. Building something from nothing. That's strength." "I learned from the best," I said. But honestly, I was still angry. Still hurt. Still waking up some nights thinking about Marcus and Simone living their happy life while I was here scraping by. Still checking their social media sometimes, torturing myself with pictures of them at nice restaurants, on beaches, at clubs. They looked so happy. So carefree. Like they hadn't destroyed someone to get there. And I was still alone. Still single. Still too damaged and too busy to even think about dating. Who would want me anyway? The woman who got left at the altar? Who was so stupid she didn't see her fiancé sleeping with her sister? Yeah, that was a great selling point. 6 months post-wedding, something shifted. I'd paid off Mama's medical bills. Paid off the apartment damages. Started saving again, not much, but something. Had 12 regular clients now. Had hired a part-time assistant. A college student named Keisha who needed flexible hours. Clarke Solutions was actually becoming something real. I was at a medical conference in Dallas, my first business trip, when I met him. Dr. James Mitchell.
He was
giving a presentation on practice management, and I was there to network to find more clients. He was fine.
I mean, really fine.
Tall, dark skin, athletic build, this gorgeous smile. During the lunch break, he sat at my table. "You look overwhelmed," he said, gesturing at my plate of conference food I hadn't touched. First time at one of these, I admitted. Trying to figure out how to talk to people without sounding desperate. For their business. He laughed. I remember that feeling. I opened my practice 5 years ago. Those first couple years were rough. We talked through lunch. He told me about his orthopedic practice in Houston. I told him about Clarke Solutions. He seemed genuinely interested, asking smart questions about my processes, my challenges, my
goals.
At the end of lunch, he handed me his card. "My billing company just went out of business. I'm looking for someone new. You interested?" "Absolutely."
"Great.
Call my office manager Monday. We'll set up a meeting." He paused. "And maybe, if you're interested, we could get dinner sometime? Talk about something other than business." I froze. Was he asking me out? This successful, attractive doctor was asking me, broke, damaged, barely holding it together, me out? I don't really date," I said, the words tumbling out. "I mean, I'm focused on my business right now. I don't have time for—" "It's okay," he said gently. "No pressure. But if you change your mind, my number's on the card. For business or otherwise." I watched him walk away and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Interest. Attraction. But also fear. Because what if I let someone in again, and they destroyed me? What if I trusted someone, and they turned out to be another Marcus? Could I risk that again? That night in my hotel room, I called Mama. "How's the conference?" she asked. "Good. Really good. I might have a big new client." I paused. "And this doctor asked me out."
Oh,
"You gonna go?" "I don't know, Mama. I don't know if I'm ready." "What if?" "Baby, let me tell you something. Your daddy leaving, that almost broke me. I didn't date for years after because I was scared. Scared of getting hurt again. Scared of trusting someone who'd leave. You know what I regret?
all.
Those years I spent being scared. Years I could have been living. But Mama, I'm not saying rush into anything. I'm not saying don't be careful. But don't let Marcus and Simone steal your future along with everything else they took. Don't let them win by making you too scared to try again. I sat with that after we hung up.
Too scared to try again.
Was that what I was doing? Letting fear control my life? Maybe. But maybe fear was keeping me safe too. I went back to Houston with Dr. Mitchell's card in my wallet. Called his office like he asked. Set up a meeting. About the billing contract. Professional. Business only. But when I walked into his practice for that meeting, he greeted me with that smile, and I felt something shift. Something that scared me and excited me at the same time we talked business for an hour. His practice was bigger than my other clients, 3 doctors, 2 locations, high volume. It would mean hiring more help, investing in better software, growing in a way that felt risky. "I can do this," I told him. "But I need to be honest. I need 30 days to scale up, to make sure I can handle your volume without dropping the ball on my other clients." I respect that. Most people would promise anything to get the contract. You're being real about your limitations. That tells me you're someone I can trust. Trust. That word still felt complicated. I landed the contract. Hired 2 more assistants. Moved my operation out of Mama's dining room into a small office space I could barely afford but desperately needed. Clarke Solutions was growing faster than I'd ever imagined. 8 months post-wedding, I was employing 5 people and managing billing for 15 practices. Making more money than I ever had in my life. Actually saving. Actually building something substantial, but I was exhausted. Working 70-hour weeks. Barely sleeping. Barely eating. Running on coffee and determination and the absolute terror that if I slowed down for even a second, everything would fall apart again. Dr. Mitchell, James, he'd started asking me to call him, kept asking me to dinner. I kept saying no. Too busy. Too focused. Too scared, though I didn't say that part. Then one night, I was in my office at 10 p.m., the only one still there, trying to resolve a massive insurance denial that was costing one of my clients thousands of dollars.
My phone rang. "James."
"Are you still working?" he asked. "How'd you know?" "Because I drove past your office and your light's on." "Destiny, you need to take a break." "I can't. This denial. We'll still be there tomorrow."
"Come on."
"There's a food truck festival happening downtown." "When's the last time you did something just for fun?" I couldn't remember. Literally couldn't remember the last time I'd done something that wasn't work or taking care of Mama or trying to survive. "I'm not really dressed for. You're perfect. I'm outside. Come on." And maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was the loneliness I'd been ignoring. Maybe it was Mama's voice in my head telling me not to let fear win. But I went. The food truck festival was crowded and loud and chaotic. We got tacos and walked around, trying samples from different vendors. James told me funny stories about difficult patients. I told him about my most ridiculous insurance claim disputes.
We laughed.
Actually laughed. Something I realized I hadn't done in months. "Can I ask you something?" he said as we sat on a bench, eating ice cream.
"Why do you always say no when I
"Ask you out?" I could have lied. Could have given him some excuse about being busy. But something about the way he asked, genuinely wanting to understand, made me honest. "I got left at the altar 8 months ago," I said quietly, "by my fiancé, who ran off with my younger sister." They took everything from me. Money, dignity, trust. Everything. And I'm terrified that if I let someone in, again, if I trust someone again, they'll do the same thing. James was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry that happened to you. That's terrible. But can I tell you something? Not everyone is going to hurt you. I know that's hard to believe right now, but closing yourself off from everyone because one person, two people were terrible, that's letting them win. That's letting them steal your future. That's what my mama said. Smart woman. He smiled. Look, I'm not asking you to trust me completely right now.
I'm not asking you to
jump into a relationship. I'm just asking for a chance. One real date. If it's terrible, we'll laugh about it and stay business associates. But if it's good, maybe we try another one. See where it goes. No pressure.
No
expectations. I looked at him. Really looked at him. He had kind eyes. Patient eyes. The kind of eyes that felt safe. One date, I said. But if you turn out to be another Marcus, I'm billing your practice double. He laughed.
Deal.
That first real date turned into a second, then a third, then regular dinners after work, then Sunday brunches, then meeting each other's families. James was different from Marcus in every way that mattered. He was consistent, reliable. He didn't disappear for hours without explanation. He didn't make me feel crazy for asking questions. He supported my business, celebrated my wins, helped me problem-solve my challenges. He made me feel safe. And slowly, so slowly, I started to trust again. 10 months post-wedding, Clarke Solutions was managing billing for 23 practices across Houston.
I'd
moved into a bigger office, had 8 employees, was making 6 figures for the first time in my life. And I was in a relationship with a man who actually valued me, who showed up, who didn't make me question my worth. Life was good. Actually good. Not perfect. I was still working too much, still had stress, still had moments where I thought about Marcus and Simone and felt that old rage bubble up. But I was building something. Actually building something real. Then one random Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Is this Destiny Clarke? Yes. This is Detective Rodriguez with Houston PD. I'm calling about Marcus Thompson and Simone Clarke.
Are
you familiar with these individuals? My blood went cold.
Yes.
What happened? Are they okay? They're fine physically, but they've been arrested. We found her name in our investigation and wanted to reach out. Can you come down to the station? We need to ask you some questions. Arrested. Marcus and Simone had been arrested. And somehow I knew. Even before I got to that police station, even before they told me the details, I knew. What goes around comes around. And karma was about to serve them everything they deserved. I sat in that interrogation room at Houston PD, Detective Rodriguez across from me, with a thick file folder. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From anticipation. Miss Clarke, we need you to verify some information. Did you have a joint bank account with Marcus Thompson?
Yes.
He cleaned it out the day before our wedding. $12,000. And did he have access to your credit cards? Your personal information. My stomach dropped. He had my social security number. We were planning to buy a house together. Why? Detective Rodriguez opened the folder. Because Marcus Thompson and Simone Clarke have been running a sophisticated identity theft and fraud operation for the past 8 months. They've opened credit cards in multiple people's names, taken out loans, made fraudulent insurance claims. We're looking at over $300,000 in fraud across 17 victims. I couldn't breathe. What? You were victim number 1, Miss Clarke. That $12,000 was just the beginning. He used your information to open 4 credit cards, maxed them all out, took out a personal loan for $30,000 in your
name.
Your credit score is currently in the low 400s. The room tilted. All this time I'd been building myself back up. Marcus had been quietly destroying my credit, my financial future, everything I was working so hard to rebuild. How did you catch them? They got greedy. Started targeting wealthier victims, including a federal judge's daughter.
That's when the FBI
Got involved. We traced everything back to Miami, where they've been living under fake names. Well, trying to live large anyway. Turns out that lifestyle is expensive when you're not actually earning money. So where are they now?
jail.
Both of them. Simone's trying to claim she didn't know what Marcus was doing, but we have evidence showing she was an active participant. Text messages, emails, bank records. She helped him target victims, helped him gather information, helped him spend the money. Detective Rodriguez slid a photo across the table. Marcus and Simone in mugshots. They looked so different from those happy beach photos. Marcus's face was thin, stressed. Simone looked like she'd been crying for
hours.
No more smiles. No more happiness. Just the consequences of their choices staring back at them. What happens now? I asked. We're building our case. With the federal charges and the number of victims, they're looking at serious prison.
Time.
10 to 20 years, possibly. We'll need you to testify, provide documentation of what they took from
you.
But Miss Clarke? She looked at me with something like respect. We've talked to other victims.
You're the
only one who survived this. Who didn't let it destroy them. Most people in your situation would have given up.
But you built something.
That's remarkable. I left that police station in a daze. I called James from the parking lot. They've been arrested, I told him. Marcus and Simone.
Fraud.
Identity theft. They destroyed my credit.
James.
While I was working my tail off to rebuild, they were out there destroying everything else. Where are you? I'm coming to get you. I'm okay. I need to process this.
But he came anyway.
Found me sitting in my car, staring at nothing. Held me while I cried. Not from sadness, but from relief. From the weight of finally knowing they hadn't gotten away with it. That justice was actually
coming for them.
What are you thinking? James asked softly. I'm thinking about that night. The wedding night. How I sat in my childhood bedroom wondering how I'd survive. If I'd survive. I looked at him. And now look at me. Look at us. They tried to destroy me, and instead, I built something better than anything I had before. You did that. Not them.
You.
Over the next few months, the case unfolded. The news picked it up. Houston couple's wedding day fraud. Scheme. And suddenly, my story was everywhere. People I hadn't talked to in years reached out. Some with support. Some just wanting the gossip. But you know what? The publicity was actually good for business. People saw me as a survivor. Someone who'd been knocked down and gotten back up. New clients came specifically because they'd heard my story and wanted to support my business. Clarke Solutions grew to 35 clients. I had to hire a full-time office manager and move to an even bigger
space.
I was making more money than I'd ever dreamed of. Enough to buy Mama a new house in a better neighborhood. Enough to have savings. Real savings. Enough to feel secure for the first time in my life. The trial happened about a year after my non-wedding. I testified. Told the courtroom everything they'd taken from me, everything they'd done. Looked Marcus in the eye while I did it. He looked broken. Defeated. Nothing like the confident man who'd proposed on that rooftop. Simone wouldn't even look at me. Just sat there crying, her public defender whispering to her. They were both convicted. Marcus got 15 years. Simone got 8 because she cooperated, and it was her first offense. When the verdict was read, I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No revenge. Just relief that it was over. That I could finally close this chapter completely. Outside the courthouse, reporters wanted statements. I kept it simple. I hope they get the help they need.
And I
hope other people learn from this. That betrayal says everything about the betrayer and nothing about your worth. That soundbite went viral. My business phone rang off the hook for weeks. But the best part? The part that felt like real victory? That came 2 months after the trial. James took me to the same rooftop where Marcus had proposed. I knew what was coming, but I still cried when he got down on one knee with a ring that was nothing like the one Marcus had given me. This one was unique, beautiful,
Real.
Destiny Clarke, you're the strongest, most resilient, most inspiring woman I've ever met. You took the worst situation imaginable and turned it into something beautiful. Will you marry me? Yes, I whispered. Yes, 1,000 times yes. We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Mama walked me down the aisle, crying happy tears this time. And when I got to that altar, James was there. Actually there. Smiling at me. Like I was everything he'd ever wanted. There were no dramatics. No betrayals. No disasters. Just two people who loved each other, promising to build a life together. And you know what made it even better? We decided to adopt a beautiful 3-year-old girl named Zara who needed a family just as much as we needed her. The first time she called me Mama, I cried for an hour because I realized that everything I'd been through, all the pain, all the struggle, all the rebuilding, it had led me here,
To this life. To this family.
to this version of myself that was stronger, wiser, and more grateful than the woman who got left at that altar. Clarke Solutions is now one of the top medical billing companies in Houston. 42 clients, 15 employees, 7-figure revenue. I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm thriving. Sometimes I think about Marcus and Simone in prison. Wonder if they regret what they did. If they understand what they destroyed and what they lost. But honestly, I don't think about them much anymore. They're just a chapter in my story. A painful one, but one that led to something beautiful. Last month, I got a letter from Simone, forwarded from the prison. Destiny, I know you probably won't read this. I know you have every right to hate me forever.
But I need you to.
No, I'm sorry. Really sorry. I was young and stupid, and I let Marcus manipulate me into thinking what we did was okay. I destroyed our family. I destroyed you. And for what? A man who turned out to be using me just like he used everyone else. I lost my sister, my best friend, the person who always protected me, and I can never get that back. I hope you're happy now. I hope you found someone who treats you the way you deserve. I hope you can forgive me someday, even though I don't deserve it. I love you, sis. I always will. I read that letter 3 times. Showed it to James. To Mama. To my therapist. Yeah, I got therapy. Dealt with my trauma like a grown woman should. What are you going to do? James asked. Nothing, I said. Not right now. Maybe someday I'll be ready to forgive. Maybe someday I'll write back.
But
Today? Today I'm focused on my life, my family, my business, my future. Because here's what I learned through all of this. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most teach you the most valuable lessons. They teach you what you're capable of surviving. They teach you how strong you really
are.
They teach you that rock bottom is just a foundation for building something better. Marcus didn't break me. Simone didn't destroy me. They just cleared away everything that wasn't meant for me, so I could build the life I was actually supposed to have. And if you're going through something similar right now, if someone betrayed you, left you, hurt you in a way that feels impossible to survive, I need you to hear this. You will survive. You will rebuild. You will come out stronger than you ever thought possible. It won't happen overnight. It won't be easy. There will be days when you want to give up, when it feels like too much, when you wonder if it's even worth it. But it is worth it. You are worth it. Your story doesn't end with their betrayal. That's just the plot twist that leads to your comeback. So if you've ever been where I was broken, humiliated, scared, angry, drop a comment. Let's talk about it. Because we're not alone in this. And if this story resonated with you, if you felt what I felt, if you see yourself in my journey, hit that like button and subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because Sometimes, knowing someone else survived is all the hope we need to keep going. My name is Destiny Clarke. I got left at the altar. I lost everything. And I turned it into my greatest comeback. And if I can do it, so can you. Epilogue note: 3 years later, Clarke Solutions expanded to Dallas and Austin. Destiny was featured in Forbes 30 Under 30 for entrepreneurship. Zara started kindergarten. James opened a second orthopedic practice. Linda retired comfortably. Marcus and Simone remain incarcerated. And Destiny never looked back.